You wake up, and the first thing you do before your eyes have fully adjusted to the light is reach for your phone. Not to check messages, not to see the time, but to see what happened overnight, the charts, the positions, the price. And in that single moment, before your day has even begun, you've already handed over a piece of yourself to the market. You don't think of it that way, of course. You tell yourself you're just checking, just being responsible, just staying informed. But somewhere beneath the surface, in a place you rarely examine, something has already shifted. The day hasn't started for you. It started for the market, and you're simply catching up. This is the part no one talks about, not in the trading courses, not in the YouTube videos promising you freedom and wealth. They talk about strategies and risk management and discipline, but they never talk about what it actually costs to sit in front of a screen and watch numbers move. Not the money you risk, the other cost, the invisible one, the one that doesn't show up in your trading journal or your account balance, the cost that accumulates quietly in the background, like interest on a debt you didn't know you were taking on. And by the time you notice it, you're already paying more than you ever intended. You sit down at your desk, the screen flickers to life, the candles form, the indicators load, and within seconds, you're no longer in your room. You're somewhere else, somewhere between hope and fear, between control and chaos. The outside world becomes a blur. Your partner speaks to you and you hear them, but you don't really hear them. Your mind is split, half here, half in the chart. And this split, this constant division of your attention becomes so normal that you forget what it feels like to be fully present anywhere. You convince yourself, this is focus, this is dedication. But really, it's something else. It's a kind of low-grade exhaustion that doesn't announce itself. It just settles in and stays. The market opens and you feel it, that small jolt of adrenaline, the tightening in your chest. Your breathing changes, though you don't notice. Your shoulders tense, your eyes narrow. You're hunting now, scanning for setups, watching for signals. And in this mode, time behaves strangely. Minutes feel like hours. Hours vanish in what seems like moments. You look up and realize you've been sitting in the same position for 3 hours without moving. Your back aches, your eyes burn, but you can't stop, because stopping means missing something. And missing something means losing. And losing is unacceptable. So you stay, you watch, you wait. But here's the thing about waiting. It's not passive. Not the way you're doing it. It's not like waiting for a bus or waiting for water to boil. This is active waiting. Tense waiting. Your nervous system is engaged. Your mind is working. You're running simulations constantly. What if it breaks here? What if it reverses there? What if the news comes out and everything changes? You're playing out scenarios faster than you realize, and each one carries a small emotional charge. A flicker of fear, a spark of greed, a shadow of doubt. And each of these tiny emotional events costs something. Not much on its own. But they add up. Minute after minute, hour after hour, day after day, until you're running on a kind of emotional deficit you can't quite name. You tell yourself, this is what trading is. This is the job. This is what it takes to succeed. And maybe that's true. But what you don't tell yourself, what you avoid thinking about, is that this job doesn't end when you close the platform. It doesn't end when you step away from the desk. Because the market is always open somewhere. And even when it's not, it's coming back. And you know this. So your mind never fully disengages. You're at dinner with friends, and someone says something and you laugh, but part of you is thinking about the position you left open. You're watching a film and the story is unfolding, but you're wondering if you should have taken profit earlier. You're lying in bed and you're trying to sleep, but your mind is replaying the trade you lost, examining it from every angle, trying to figure out what you missed. This is the tax, not the losing trades, not the blown accounts. Those are obvious. Those hurt in ways you can see and measure. But this other thing, this constant hum of mental activity, this inability to ever be fully off, this is the hidden cost. And it drains you in ways that are harder to identify. You become irritable and you don't know why. You feel tired even after sleeping. You lose interest in things that used to excite you. You become impatient with people, with life, with yourself. And you wonder what's wrong. You wonder if you're depressed, if you're burnt out, if you're just not cut out for this. But you don't connect it to the hours spent watching. You don't see the link between the mental taxation and the emotional exhaustion, because it happens so slowly, so quietly, that by the time you feel it, it's already woven into the fabric of your daily experience. And the worst part is, you can't even talk about it. Not really. Because when you try, it sounds like complaining, it sounds weak. Everyone else seems fine. Everyone else seems to be handling it. The traders you follow online are posting their wins, their setups, their confident analysis. They seem calm. They seem in control. They make it look easy, so you assume the problem is you. You assume you're doing something wrong. You're not disciplined enough, not focused enough, not strong enough. And so you push harder. You watch more. You study more. You try to fix whatever's broken inside you, but the more you push, the worse it gets. Because the problem isn't your lack of effort. The problem is the effort itself. The problem is that you're trying to run a marathon at sprint speed. And no one can do that. Not forever. There's a moment, and it comes at different times for different people, where you start to realize something. It happens quietly. Maybe you're sitting at your desk and you've just closed a winning trade, and instead of feeling good, you feel nothing. Or maybe you're looking at your account balance and it's higher than it's ever been, but you're not happy. You're just thinking about how you could have made more. Or maybe you're lying awake at 3 in the morning and you suddenly understand that you've been so focused on trying to win, on trying to be right, that you've forgotten what you were even trying to win for. The freedom you wanted, the time you wanted, the peace you wanted. And you realize that somewhere along the way, you traded those things for the pursuit itself. You became so consumed with the process that you lost sight of the purpose. This realization doesn't come with a flash of insight. It's not dramatic, it's just a quiet, uncomfortable knowing. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start to notice patterns. You notice that you're most anxious when you're most engaged. You notice that your best days aren't the days you make the most money, but the days you manage to stay detached. You notice that the traders who seem most at peace aren't the ones watching every tick, but the ones who've learned to look away. And this feels wrong. It contradicts everything you've been taught. You're supposed to be engaged. You're supposed to care. You're supposed to be obsessed. That's what separates the winners from the losers, right? But maybe that's not true. Maybe the real separation isn't between those who care and those who don't. Maybe it's between those who've learned to care without being consumed and those who haven't. You start to experiment. You try taking breaks. You try setting specific times to check the charts instead of checking constantly. And it feels uncomfortable at first. It feels like you're being irresponsible, like you're not taking it seriously. But then something strange happens. You notice that when you step away, the market doesn't fall apart. Your positions don't implode. The world keeps turning. And more importantly, you notice that when you come back, you're sharper. Your decisions are clearer. You're not trading from a place of reaction, but from a place of choice. And this small shift, this tiny reclaiming of space, starts to change things. But it's not a linear process. There are days when you fall back into old patterns, days when you can't help but watch, days when the anxiety pulls you back in, and you find yourself glued to the screen, heart racing, eyes burning, mind spinning. And on those days, you feel like you failed, like you're back at square one, but you're not. Because now you know what it feels like to be free, even if only for a moment. And that knowing changes everything. It creates a reference point, a reminder that there's another way, that you don't have to live like this, that the cost of constant vigilance is higher than you ever calculated. You start to see other traders differently, the ones who post constantly, who are always in the market, who seem to never rest. You used to admire them. You used to think they had something you didn't. But now you see the tension in their words, the desperation in their certainty, the exhaustion they're trying to hide. And you realize they're paying the same tax, maybe even more. You feel a kind of sadness for them and for yourself, because this is what the market does. It convinces you that more is better, that presence equals performance, that if you're not watching, you're not working. And by the time you realize that's not true, you've already spent years of your life in a state of heightened alert, wondering why you feel so tired. The truth, the uncomfortable truth that no one wants to say out loud, is that most of what you're doing when you're watching charts isn't productive. It's not analysis. It's not discipline. It's compulsion dressed up as dedication. It's anxiety masquerading as engagement. You're not watching because you need to. You're watching because you can't not watch. And there's a difference, a big one. And until you're willing to see that difference, until you're willing to admit that you are not in control as much as you think you are, nothing changes. You'll keep sitting there, keep watching, keep paying the tax. And one day you'll look up and realize you've spent the best years of your life staring at a screen waiting for something that was never going to come from the next candle, the next trade, the next win. But there's another path, a quieter one. It doesn't come with a formula. It doesn't come with a guarantee. It starts with a simple question. What if I don't need to watch this? What if the market can move without me? What if my value as a trader isn't measured by how much time I spend staring, but by the quality of the decisions I make when I do engage? And when you start asking these questions, something loosens. The grip weakens. The urgency fades. Not all at once, but slowly. And you begin to reclaim pieces of yourself that you didn't even realize you'd given away. You start to notice the sky again, the way light moves through a room, the sound of your own thoughts when they're not drowned out by market noise. You start to have conversations where you're actually present, where you're not half listening while the other half of you is wondering what's happening in your positions. You start to sleep better, not perfectly, but better. And when you wake up, you don't reach for your phone immediately. Sometimes you do. Old habits die hard, but sometimes you don't. And those mornings, The ones where you let yourself exist for a few minutes before plugging back into the matrix, those mornings feel like small victories. And here's what you discover. The market doesn't punish you for this. Your results don't collapse. In fact, they often improve. Because you're no longer trading from exhaustion. You're no longer making decisions from a place of depletion. You're coming to the charts with energy, with clarity, with a mind that's had space to rest and reset. And this changes the quality of everything you do. Your entries are better, your exits are cleaner, your risk management is sharper. Not because you're watching more, but because you're watching less. Because you've learned that trading isn't about being present for every moment. It's about being present for the right moments and knowing the difference. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you stop confusing effort with effectiveness. It means you stop sacrificing your mental health on the altar of market participation. It means you understand that the most valuable thing you bring to trading isn't your time. It's your clarity. And clarity doesn't come from constant exposure. It comes from space, from distance, from the ability to step back and see the bigger picture without being consumed by the noise of the moment. So maybe the real skill isn't learning to watch more carefully. Maybe it's learning to look away, to trust that you've done the work, to trust that your plan is sound, to trust that you don't need to monitor every fluctuation to be a good trader. Maybe the real discipline isn't sitting there for hours. Maybe it's being able to close the platform and walk away, knowing that the market will still be there tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. And that your life, the one you're living right now, the one that's passing by while you stare at candles, that life won't wait. It's happening now, and every minute you spend locked in a state of anxious vigilance is a minute you're not fully living. You don't have to quit trading. You don't have to walk away. But you do have to decide what you're willing to pay, not just in capital, but in presence, in peace, in the quiet moments that make life worth living. Because the market will take everything you give it. It won't stop you. It won't tell you when you've given enough. That's your job. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you can start trading in a way that doesn't slowly hollow you out from the inside. This is the hidden mental tax, the one no one warns you about, the one that doesn't show up in your P&L, but it's there, in the fatigue you can't explain, in the relationships that feel strained, in the sense that you're always busy but never fulfilled. And the only way to stop paying it is to see it, to name it, to acknowledge that it's real, and then to make a different choice, not once, but over and over, day after day, until the new way becomes the default. Until you remember what it feels like to be a person first and a trader second. The chart will blink, the candles will form, the market will move, and you'll still be there when you need to be. But you won't be trapped there. You won't be held hostage by the fear of missing something, because you'll understand that the only thing worth missing is the life you're not living while you're watching. And that's a cost no winning trade can ever recover.